Aaron Rodgers has called for fans to join him in a show of unity tonight, linking arms during the national anthem. What's not as clear is what exactly is the message.
He leaves behind a nuanced legacy, a businessman, a champion of civil rights, free speech, a leader of a sexual revolution. But to others, he's an extortionist, a pimp, a pornographer, a look back at the life of Hugh Hefner and the debate over his career.
And a new way to avoid having awkward conversation with your fellow flyers. Delta adds a new feature, that plus the rest of your news headlines. Because apparently nobody is adult enough to let it go.
He's so easily played by a cable news host. Now, what is that saying to our allies?
Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough allegedly canceled their vacation to strike back at President Trump and his tweets. The couple, in a Washington Post op-ed, claimed that Trump is obsessed with their show. The president did watch this morning because he tweeted about it, saying, quote, "Watched low-rated Morning Joe for the first time in a long time. Fake news."
It's a plane. Oh my God. Oh my God.
A small twin-engine airplane crash-landed on the 405 freeway in Santa Ana, California today. It then burst into flames. 2 people on board were hurt. Only 1 car was hit. The driver of that car had very minor injuries.
That ordinance is adopted.
It's official. $15 per hour minimum wage will be a reality in Minneapolis. The city council voted 11-1 today to up the pay gradually. Small businesses will get 7 years to phase in the adjustment, large businesses 5. While many people are celebrating, not everyone is pleased with the change. Venus Williams is being sued for her part in a deadly traffic crash. The family of a 78-year-old man who died because of his injuries has filed the suit. Williams was said to have been driving about 5 miles per hour through an intersection when the 2 cars hit. Police say drugs, alcohol, and texting were not factors. Williams also will not be charged criminally in the death. Nike is helping Amazon in its quest to rule the world. The athletic gear company will now sell some of its products on Amazon.com. A small selection at first, but if it's successful, the brand will add more. But I already buy Nike stuff on Amazon, you say. That's true, but it's third-party sellers. And we're fairly confident no one is watching this tonight. Why? Well, you're all traveling, according to experts who know about these sorts of things. AAA says that 44.2 million Americans are expected to travel 50 miles or more from home this 4th of July holiday. Cheap gas prices and airfares are helping to boost those numbers. And those same experts, well, they say you've already left for your destination. Well, bully for you.
When this is your lake, and your ride, and your home, and your place, you need a good reason to leave. Like the reason Gary Marquardt departs his comfy life almost every day.
I love to hear taps echo through the cemetery.
Graveyards near and far.
There's some Civil War graves up in here.
Searching for veterans.
Here you go, Mr. Gould.
For whom he can play. This started 3 years ago when Gary attended a military funeral and heard a mechanical bugle. It bothered him that a recording was being used for taps and not a live bugler.
It just seemed that after what they've given, that wasn't much to ask.
Having never before played a horn, Gary walked into a music store and bought
This is him.
his first.
I brought it home and I tried to play taps, and it was like this.
It's awful.
That's Joni, Gary's wife.
No inhibitions.
No.
And Bruce and Carol and Alan,
How did it sound?
Gary's unfortunate neighbors.
Like maybe you better go to school or something.
I would have given up.
I would have moved out.
But Gary kept playing.
Oops.
It was all the time.
Playing, taking lessons, and playing.
We were all hoping he would get better. And then he did.
But why so driven, this man in his 60s,
There you go, Carl.
who'd retired with millions from the sale of a company he built from nothing? Why these visits, at which he leaves behind
There you go, Stanley.
his symbol of the pittance of his service compared to theirs? Why leads back to a man once all but certain he was heading to Vietnam when a bleeding ulcer intervened.
I collapsed at work, and all of a sudden I was 4F.
4F, unfit to serve, like his father had, like his high school buddies were, some of whom wouldn't come home, while Gary got a pass.
I think ashamed is a word. I was ashamed that I was happy I didn't have to go.
Which is why, 5 decades later, Gary now wears a uniform.
I don't play perfect every time. I really try to, but I'm there representing all of us, and it comes from the heart. I'm doing something for these guys. It's kind of like being among friends.
Friends and neighbors who no longer close their windows but are drawn to them when Gary plays. Every night at sunset, up and down the Lake Minnetonka shoreline, people stop to listen. And if so moved, join in. Summer and winter, rain, snow, and 20 below.
To me, it's
Every day.
determination. He decided he wanted to do this.
And he did it.
4F. Gary Marquardt was spared the sacrifices of his friends. So for now, and as long as he is able, he'll be playing for them.
It's the last call. It's daily rest. It's a prayer to me.
Boyd Hupert, Carol 11 News, Lake Minnetonka. The home on Riverview Drive is now quieter.
You just can't imagine what it's like.
Keith Davison, retired district court judge, is still getting used to the alone.
April of 2016, that's when I lost her.
Keith lost Evie. After 66 years, their home went silent. Even Evie's now stilled wristwatch on the nightstand.
I just don't have the heart to move it. You cry a lot. That's just the way it is, you know, because she's not here.
Now, at 94, the judge has reached a decision.
Here comes the cement truck.
94.
Right here?
As he pondered a backyard addition and took the plunge.
It's 16 by 32, the pool itself.
Deep into missing his Evie, the judge had had enough silence.
Hi,
Then quit.
you ready to go swimming?
Quiet.
One of the judges, cool.
I knew they'd come.
Plenty of people thought the judge was joking when he first floated this idea.
This spring when I saw him marking the yard, I told my husband, he's really gonna do it. He's really gonna put a pool in his backyard.
Hard to be lonely, he reckoned, if he surrounded himself with kids.
It's awesome and fun.
Now we're gonna be here every day.
I'm not sitting by myself looking at the walls.
And it's him spreading joy throughout our neighborhood and for these kids. When you get to know him and talk to him, that's one of the things he just talks about. He's like, I never had any grandkids. And so in a way, we're like, well, you kind of adopted our whole neighborhood of kids. These are your grandkids.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Come again, Ireland.
Grief
Right.
can be a deep lonely place. Judge Davison took another step out the day the neighborhood dove in. Boy, KARE 11 News, Morris.
Got it.
Boxer, MMA fighter, all natural, tat-tat-tat-taroo, American, Irishman, black, white. This fight has more storylines than the Game of Thrones.
McGregor looks to me like someone right out of Game of Thrones.
We talked with Gordon Marino, a St. Olaf philosophy professor, a former boxer, and boxing coach at Virginia Military Institute.
Why are people so enthralled with this McGregor-Mayweather fight, seemingly more than other top-tier boxing matches?
I think Americans are always interested in who can kick whose butt. It's very primitive.
Yeah.
We want to know who's the baddest guy on the planet.
The fight will be available to 1 billion households in 200 countries. Some estimate the fight could be watched by 50 million Americans at $100 a pay-per-view. It's expected to break the previous pay-per-view record set by Mayweather-Pacquiao 2 years ago. So why more here? Aside from the former list mentioned, you have the perfect characters. People love a trash-talking David versus Goliath.
Is it fake? Is it a show? Is it WWE, or do they actually, the trash talk is real and from the heart?
Well, oftentimes in boxing, in these kind of situations, this trash talk starts out as a show and gets a life of its own. Some really nasty things were said there.
Please welcome. In this build-up, McGregor hurled a volley of racist comments at Mayweather. Mayweather verbally punched back by calling McGregor a homosexual epithet, simultaneously calling this fight a crusade for Americans and for black people. Given the Association of Ringside Physicians said it was shocked this fight even was sanctioned in Nevada.
You'd never get a fighter with 0 fights fighting someone 49-0, so it's unprecedented.
This will not be Ali Frazier. This is Phelps versus Shark. Python eats deer on YouTube clickbait. But it's an addictive storyline with a likely but never certain outcome.
What you're saying is there's always a puncher's chance, always.
Yeah, but a slim chance.
It's a notion that's generating some serious buzz. People suspect their phones are eavesdropping on their conversations. They're getting ads popping up for things they've never searched for, but merely chatted about around their devices.
If you think about it, your smartphone's almost always connected to the internet, and it's got microphones.
One thing that I think a lot of consumers don't necessarily realize is that phones are really snitches in their pockets.
Sean Landerman is one of the tech whizzes at Minnetonka-based Computer Forensic Services.
You can be having a conversation and you have an application that has a microphone capability. And next thing you know, you're being advertised as to what your conversation was about.
Case in point, KARE 11 viewer Lori Halverson got these ads on Twitter just hours after talking about needing an oil change at Toyota and looking forward to Riverdale's new season. Viewer Mike Landberg's roommate had these ads pop up on Instagram after Mike teased him about drinking wine and having too much body hair.
Earlier today, I was talking with a colleague. She came back, and I loved her glasses.
It happened to my colleague, Laura Stokes.
She went to Warby Parker, and we talked about that, but then she said at the last minute, wait, I've got a new place for you to look at. It's called Zenni. And I wrote it down old school on a piece of paper because I thought, oh, I do want to look that up later.
Laura never got a chance to look for Zenni, but Zenni found her.
About 2 to 3 hours later, I was on Facebook and it was scrolling through my feed and there was an ad for Zenni. And I hadn't Googled it, I hadn't looked it up yet.
And yes, Laura keeps her phone next to her computer.
While your phone is always transmitting, it's always phoning home, it's always connected to the internet.
But if your phone is eavesdropping on you, it's not reporting to a human, it's talking to other machines.
It's an automated process. It's not someone on the other end reading it. It's computers that have advanced algorithms that are deciphering what it means.
So yes, we can verify it's happening to people. It's hard to pin down who or what's behind it. Google does use things you say to Google Assistant to route ads your way, but the company flat out denies spying. We only process speech after the hot word "OK Google" is detected. Facebook also denies eavesdropping, to wit, Facebook does not use your phone's microphone to inform ads or change what you see in news feeds.
I think consumers just need to be wary of the agreements that they're entering when they're using any piece of technology.
Now, if you find all of this disturbing, there are steps you can take.
So it's just the settings, privacy, microphone.
On your iPhone, go to Settings, Privacy, Microphone, and see which apps have access to your mic, and then turn them off if you want.
It's a trade-off. It's a balance between personal privacy and the cool features that we get from the latest app or the latest phone.
Turns out Laura had 12 apps using her microphone, but she can only guess which one is all ears.
I can't say I'm not an expert in it, but I was super surprised to see that.
All right, everybody, it's time for the 11 Amazon hacks you should know before the online sales blitz. And by hacks, we don't mean ways Amazon can steal your social security number. We're talking about cheats, shortcuts, savings for you. First up, Amazon has a warehouse. It's called creatively Amazon Warehouse. They sell open box and used stuff at a discount. They also rent out textbooks for you students or Goodwill hunting types.
How do you like them apples?
There's also Amazon Outlet, which offers discount items, markdowns, clearance, overstock stuff. But you already knew that. Okay, if you haven't used the Amazon app, the company will give you a free $5 just for opening that up. You can also save by reloading your credit balance with a checking account instead of a credit card. By using that, it saves Amazon 2% in processing fees with the credit card companies, and they'll pass that savings on to you. How nice of them. Want to know when a product drops to a certain price? Well, there are sites that'll do that for you. Camel, 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 and Keepa are two of them. Kind of like the stock market for your Christmas list. If you're a Prime member, you can tailor it to your situation. There's Amazon Family, which gives exclusive diaper and baby coupons, stuff like that. There's also Amazon Student, which gives you half off of your Amazon Prime membership. Pretty sweet for the Prime TV deals in the dorms. Here's a cool one, No Rush Rewards. So when you order something in Prime, there's sometimes an option for no rush 6-day shipping. You'll get rewards like $1 per purchase towards music or ebooks or videos, all sorts of stuff like that. And speaking of delivery, if Amazon doesn't live up to what it promised you with that 2-day delivery, complain. Complain. Do it. Doesn't matter if it was Snowmageddon. They needed to ship it to you on time. They could extend your membership or credit your account. Okay, do you like games? Or do you like watching others play video games? No? Well, your kids do. And Amazon bought a little company called Twitch in 2014, which had like 55 million users on it. So if you're a Prime member, Twitch is free for your teens at home. Pretty cool. And the last hack, Smile. Amazon Smile, that is. If you start your Amazon shopping at a separate website called smile.amazon.com, Amazon, the company, will donate 0.5% of your order price to a charity of your choice. That's money on their end, not your end. So safe shopping, everybody, and happy hacking. For Take Care of Your Money, I'm Chris Arabsky.
Once upon a crime, a wee bit of Christmas was stolen. Yes, stolen from a kindly artist. An artist who loves her little creatures.
The Irish have their leprechauns, and the Germans had their gnomes, and the Norwegians had their Julenisse.
Suzanne Tofte has risen to fame among Norwegian folk artists, though she lives not in Norway, but near St. Cloud, Minnesota.
This is the Julenisse enjoying his lutefisk supper.
Suzanne's paintings sold in gift shops from Scandinavia to North America.
This is Merry Christmas in Norwegian.
But her story took a turn 40 Christmases ago when one of Suzanne's favorite creations fell victim to a heist.
One morning, I looked out the window and I saw my gnome was gone.
Suzanne's hand-painted, red-cheeked, guest-welcoming gnome snatched from her front yard Christmas display.
Susie went and called the cops.
Jack is Suzanne's husband.
Told them they stole my gnome, and he said, "What's a gnome?"
They said, "Can you give a description?" And I said, "Well, yes, he has a blue jacket and a real tall red pointy hat and lots of whiskers. And he said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm afraid you'll probably never see him again. He's probably in somebody's dorm room." And this was 40 years ago.
Suzanne went back to painting, making more little friends.
They're sold all over Norway.
As her memories of her old one faded.
You order whenever you're ready.
Till just last month, when she and Jack stopped for a bite at Arby's.
We were in the parking lot just getting in the car, and I happened to look over at the little strip mall.
Susie saw it first, yeah.
I said, "Jack, there's my gnome."
Across the parking lot, there he was, welcoming customers to the UFTA record store.
She said, "Jack, there's my gnome." And I said, what are you talking about?
But even Jack knew, upon closer inspection.
There's none other like it anywhere. So then we went into the store, and Jack was kind of gruff to the man. He said, "Where did you get that gnome?"
Got it at a garage sale about 10 years ago.
Turns out Jeffrey Peterson has a thing for gnomes.
Everyone needs a gnome.
The woman from whom he purchased this one told him she too bought it at a garage sale. The gnome's hiding place before that, unknown.
He was in captivity.
Might still be.
Alrighty, sir, it'll be $28.98, please.
If Jeffrey hadn't opened UFTA Records just this year and on a whim pulled from his garage his strip mall version of a Walmart greeter.
I was like, well, do you want it back?
She pondered that. This artist who has sent her paintings around the world. Then Suzanne Tofty decided her gnome looks perfect right where he is.
Oh, he was smiling. He was very happy.
So this Christmas, let it be written, gnome is where the heart is.
It is a good story, and it has a happy ending. That's the stories I like.
Boyd Hubert, KARE 11 News, St. Cloud.
It was a beautiful, hot August day. I remember hating the heat. The heat was unbearable, it was hot, it was sticky, and I did not want to be on the bus any longer than I had to.
Everybody was tired, crabby, hot bus.
I remember we were on a field trip at a water park. Everyone was having a blast.
I remember kids like singing and doing like hand clapping games.
I was on the phone with my wife. I was telling her, trying to tell her about my day, that I'd had not the greatest day of work.
I actually was in a great mood because late in the afternoon I closed a big deal at the company I was working at.
I was coming from a day of work.
I was on my way to pick up my daughter from Grandma and Grandpa's.
I remember hearing the sounds of the jackhammers hitting the concrete.
I know that I drove over a seam and the bridge started to bounce, like a lot.
I heard a very loud metal sound.
It sounded like just cracking metal.
All of a sudden, it was like someone took a blanket and lifted it up.
Concrete buckled up wave by wave, lifting cars up. And that's when I knew, I actually thought I was gonna die. This is coming to get me and we're all gonna die.
We want to take you live to Minneapolis now, where there has been a bridge collapse of 35
It was kind of like a drop where you're on a roller coaster and your stomach kind of drops.
All I could think of is that these kids are on my bus. The first reaction is just to hang on to the wheel and put my foot on the brake, because wherever we were gonna land, I wasn't gonna let the bus move.
I kind of assumed that I was right over the gusset plate that broke because my car just started to nosedive into the water.
I remember falling, and then I just remember waking up underwater.
After the dust cleared, there was this 3 to 5 seconds of eerie, complete silence. You couldn't hear birds, you couldn't hear the wind, you couldn't hear anybody. And then it went from quiet to complete chaos.
And all of a sudden the kids were screaming.
My first thought was like maybe the world was ending.
An entire bridge collapsed.
I swore out loud. I just said, "Are you kidding me?"
I think everyone was pretty much in shock.
I thought I was over the water and I was gonna die.
I didn't have a chance to gasp for breath before my car was full of water.
My driver's side window, I'm assuming shattered from the impact.
I pushed on everything. I didn't know what I was pushing on because it was murky.
I was able to get out there, swim to the surface, and I looked around and saw rubble.
I don't know how I made it to the surface, but I did.
I grabbed my phone to basically call my wife. Basically, it was a goodbye call, thinking that I was going to end up in the water.
Kim, I'm on the bridge. It collapsed. It collapsed. Everybody, Kim!
We're all just kind of like looking and staring at this big bridge that had fallen with us on it.
I did not want to leave without my mother.
Turned around and told them they need to get off the bus. I will get off as soon as I can.
And she turned and looked at me and she goes, "You need to get off this bus now."
The bus kind of did like a shift. I could feel it like move a little bit.
I was getting panicked because Mom was still on the bus.
And then my seatbelt actually released and I was able to push the button, get off.
It was like a breath of fresh air, like there she is.
We see a lot of black smoke billowing from.
And all of a sudden the Tasty truck started on fire and a lot of the kids started getting really scared.
Previously he waved to all the kids, honked his horn at all the kids, and then like 3 minutes later to see his truck destroyed.
I went and tried to help the Tasty Bread truck driver, but I couldn't help him. The concrete was crushed his cab, and you can't help him. So it's tough. Yeah, he didn't make it.
My daughter Liz was on the I-35W bridge when it collapsed. She was on a section that had dropped the 5 stories down into the Mississippi River. It changed her so dramatically. She was in constant pain every single day of her life for the rest of her life. She was on medication, and I believe she was self-medicating as well. She went out and I had a couple of drinks, and I believe the combination of that with the new medication, she just didn't wake up. There's no doubt she would be alive today if she hadn't had that bridge.
The first thing I thought about right when it happened was my daughter and what she was going to do without a mom. I was just worried for her and what her future is going to be like without me. And then you wake up and you're still alive.
It's something that I think about in every situation that I'm in. I am constantly aware of how to survive. I have these made-up stories about how to survive. If I drive over the bridge again, I have to have my window open because then I can easily survive that.
I have not went over the bridge at all. I get close to the area, but it makes me sick, nauseous.
I do not like elevators, don't like the dropping feeling with the stomach, do not like tall buildings.
Mall of America, you're in the upper levels and the floor bounces, and that's normal, but I can't handle that.
I have a lot of PTSD still. I live by a park, and sometimes I catch myself looking out the window like, why are these kids screaming, you know?
I'm grateful to even be here, which some people on the bridge are not anymore. And so every day I thank God that I am here.
After the bridge, I took EMT and emergency responder and first aid, fell in love with it.
I've created a nonprofit.
So now for me, life is all about the little things. I get to be home with my kids. I throw crazy birthday parties. I care more about backyard barbecues with friends.
I think it's shown me the value of life and the importance of treating people with respect and compassion, and giving people the benefit of the doubt, and just doing the things that you want to do, and make sure you tell people you love them.
Every time I leave the house, every time we get off the phone, it's I love you. You know, you don't take loved ones for granted.
Every day, you kind of look back and you're like, what if I didn't have what I have now? What if I didn't make it? What if I was more severe than it actually was? All the what ifs in life, and then you realize you're here today. You gotta make it last. You gotta make a difference. You gotta push yourself to live.